The unfortunate reality is that most people who try to sell digital products online, they lose money. And it's not down to the funnel that they run or the pricing or the ads that they run or anything like that. It comes down to the market and the niche that they go into. Now, unfortunately, that means that most people are doomed to lose and doomed to lose money and fail before they've even built out their funnel or started running ads, because it was never going to work in the first place. People are choosing unprofitable and really saturated markets and niches to go into. So I'm going to show you how anyone, even if you're brand new to selling digital products, can find a really profitable and unsaturated niche to increase the chances of you succeeding. Because what most people do, and you would have seen it if you're looking to sell digital products or you've been doing some research, you'll see all these people who are like teaching you how to sell digital products. Their advice is pretty general and it's all pretty much the same, which is, hey, go into the big three niches, which is health, wealth, and relationships. And even though that in itself isn't bad advice, it's not really helpful enough or specific enough for you to actually make some informed decisions. So for example, people will hear, oh, go into the health niche. So what they'll do is they'll start creating products for weight loss, and they'll come and they'll basically create a PDF or a guide or maybe like a mini course for women on how to lose weight. And okay, cool, like weight loss is a big market and there's a big demand for it. But the problem is that you're going against all the millions of different advertisers who are selling the same thing. You can see I'm just searching for weight loss here in the Meta ads library in the UK. And there's however many different companies trying to sell weight loss. And this is what it kind of looks like. And this is why people fail. So this market on the left-hand, this circle on the left-hand side, the white circle is basically, in this example, the weight loss market. And within that market, yes, it's big. So you can, in theory, you'll be able to scale and make a lot of money in this market. And a lot of people do make money in this market because there's a lot of demand and it's a huge market. But the problem is, especially if you are a beginner, you're going up against a lot of competition. So within this market, even though it's huge, there are also thousands, if not millions, of competitors selling the same or at least very similar things. And therefore, when the market, even though the market's big, increasing competition means decreased in conversions, and it's harder for you to make money, again, especially if you're just starting out. So this is you, the blue circle, but you're competing against all the red circles, which is your competition. So what I prefer to do is to find slightly smaller markets that are less competitive and less saturated. So this example on the right. And if you find these like smaller niche markets, then maybe you're the only person advertising in that space. Or maybe it's just you and a couple of competitors that are dominating. But if you can do that, like on the right-hand side here, even though the market is smaller and there's less potential customers, you will most likely make a lot more money and a lot more profit because there is less competition. And the reason why on the left-hand side it's so difficult to make money in these competitive markets is because one of the ways in which you want to differentiate yourself if you are in a competitive market is with brand and influence. You see, it's very easy for someone to create a weight loss product. It's very easy for someone to compete on price. It's very easy for someone to compete on the channels that you're marketing on. But the biggest differentiator and the reason why these people can make a lot of money in these big competitive markets is because they have a brand. And that brand differentiates them from everyone else. But the reality is that most people who are coming into, wanting to learn how to sell digital products online, they don't want to post on social media every day. They don't want to create a big brand for themselves. A lot of people want to create a digital product. It could be faceless, it could be not, but they don't really want to plaster their face all over the internet. And they probably want to run ads to generate sales. They don't want to start posting on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and growing a big brand. They just want to create a digital product, they want to run ads to it, and they want to make money. But the problem is that in these big saturated markets, the way you make money is with brand and influence. So what we want to do is we want to hang out around here. And we want to still make money, but we want to find an unsaturated market where brand and influence becomes a lot less important. Whereas what most people are doing, they're hanging out here in these like big niches like weight loss, for example, or how to make money with affiliate marketing or something like that, where there's just a load of competition, super saturated. And in order for you to make any money, you're going to have a lot of brand, like a big recognizable brand, to be able to have influence on that market. So we want to try and find something that lands us here in this green circle. Now, one ways in which you're going to find a profitable market or a profitable niche as well, and again, this goes against a lot of advice that people talk about, is you need to find a really, really painful problem. Now, I know that seems kind of obvious, but for example, if you're running ads to a cold audience in the newsfeed and they're seeing you for the first time, and within that like next 5 to 10 minute period, you want them to click your ad, read your sales page, go to your checkout, get their credit card out and pay you, then they're going to have to be extremely motivated in order to do that. So in order for us to get a stranger who's never seen us before and we don't have a recognizable brand, and for them to pay us money, we need to make sure that we're offering a solution to an extremely painful problem that's specific to them. So the more painful the problem is, the more profit you're likely going to make. Because I see in some of these courses and people giving advice on how to sell digital products online, you'll typically see that they have some form of like, I don't know whether it would be like a YouTube video or some of them even sell like these as products. And it's like, oh, the top, 99 niches to sell digital products, right? And it sounds enticing because you're like, yeah, I want to know what the profitable niches are. So you buy it and then the niches are all like super weird. And yes, okay, they're specific and the market might be small. But if the problem that you're solving isn't painful enough, then it doesn't matter if you are the only competitor or the only advertiser or you're only like one of 3 advertisers in that space. You can have a super niche and specific market, but if the problem isn't painful enough, then someone isn't going to see your ad and pay you money within, the first 5 minutes of, seeing your stuff. So I see people say, like, I saw the other day, like in one of those niche videos, someone was saying, oh yeah, like a guide on how to meditate. And it's just like, well, my agency works with some of the biggest like spiritual influencers and YouTubers in the space. And I can guarantee you that if you're going to go out there and create a product that teaches people how to meditate and you've got no recognizable brand, then you aren't going to make a lot of money because that problem isn't really painful enough. Yes, people want to learn how to meditate and there's a big market for meditation, but is it like a super painful problem that someone's going to pay money to a complete stranger within 5 minutes of seeing them on the Facebook newsfeed? Very unlikely. I see stuff around like productivity and people trying to like sell productivity planners and guides. And again, if you don't have like a proper brand and you're just doing more direct response where you want someone to see your ad and pay you straight away, then again, just helping someone to become more productive by itself, if that is just the offer, then that's not painful enough. Now, there are specific painful problems within productivity, whereas like a lack of productivity can lead to painful problems. So you could maybe get a bit more specific with the messaging. But I see people creating really like general, unpainful offers, even though they feel like they found like a really like niche and unsaturated market. So we want to try and find and balance unsaturation, where there's a lack of competition, but there's also like a super painful problem. Now, how I would go about this is I would start looking for the more general problems within the big 3 markets, which is health, wealth, and relationships. And then from there, do some extra research to try and find like a niche or specific problem that isn't necessarily being served by businesses and advertisers. So for example, you could come to the Facebook ads library or Meta ads library, and you want to search for maybe more like general terms around those big 3. So like weight loss, for example, is obviously a big one in health. It could be something to do with like marriage or relationships or finances. It could be around like how to make money, or also like how to get out of like a bad financial situation. She'll talk about some specific examples in a second. But I would basically go through number 1 and look at the different offers that people are making money in. And what you'll find is obviously we're not going to create a weight loss product, but you might find some of the copy, or you can go to some of the sales pages, or just see some of the offers that your potential competitors are running. And you can basically look at the different, like the copy, the messaging, and the problems that people are referencing inside of the ads. So again, we're not going to create like a general weight loss product, but we could create a weight loss targeted product, but it would have to be a bit more specific with the problems. And you would just go through and you'd look at the different problems that people are referencing in their ads and their copy. And then maybe you want to then have a look at what is like the demand for those potential problems. So I'll do this one in a second. So I would maybe say, for example, I was looking at like financing in Meta Ads Library, and I saw about there's lots of ads talking about debt. And I'm like, okay, well, debt is like a pretty painful problem. So I would go to like YouTube and I could just start to type in different search terms around debt. And I'd have a look at the videos that have lots of views that are around debt. Because again, if something is on a video is on YouTube and it's got a lot of views, then there's obviously a lot of people searching for that specific problem or pain point. And therefore there's probably going to be high demand for the solution. So you want to go through and just have a look at the different videos, look at the different titles, and have a look what videos are popping off around debt. Now, with this sort of stuff, again, the key isn't really just in like the titles, but you then want to go and click on the video and you want to go through the comment section and you want to have a look at the people in the comments and what are they talking about. Is there a specific type of debt that people are struggling with? Is there a specific problem with, I don't know, like the banking system in a specific country? And is there a problem there that you can create a digital product around? So we're obviously not going to create a guide or an ebook that teaches people, how to get out of debt, because again, that's too general. But we're taking like the bigger niche, which is, wealth. Then we're taking like a niche approach to that, which is debt. And then you want to go a layer lower and you want to start looking at the specific problems with debt. Maybe it's debt coming out of university, although I'm not sure that would be like the most lucrative market to go through. It could be debt after a divorce or something like that, or debt after, something else happened in their life. So we're going to look at more specific problems associated with debt. And again, the way to do that is to look at these big videos and then have a look in the comment section and look through the comments, because typically people overshare on social media and they'll start like listing out their full life story on how they got into debt and the problems that went along with it. And then you can start having a look at some of that stuff. Once you've found like a sub niche, again, you can go to Reddit as well. So I just typed in here, how to get out of debt. And again, I would go through, similar to the YouTube comments, I would go through all these top threads in Reddit. Are they called threads? I think they're called threads. I don't know. But I would go through there and I'd start looking at the comments again. And again, people on Reddit overshare even more than the YouTube comments. And I'd start looking at the specific language, the specific problems, the specific situations that people are experiencing with debt, for example, if that is the one that we're going for. And again, I've just completely made debt up just because, I just picked it randomly. So there's no like theory behind the debt. But I would start looking at that and seeing if there is like a trend, or if there is a common problem that is quite specific that a lot of people are experiencing. But it doesn't have to be debt, for example. I could also like look at marriage, and I would search marriage on YouTube, for example. So I'd be looking at the relationship niche, and I'd be trying to look into the comments here and see the common problems with marriage or the common pain points. And is this like some form of product that we could create that to help solve the common problems? And what I would recommend for most of you is that, because we're looking for a complete stranger to pay us from seeing our ad, we want to make sure that these people are, again, highly motivated with pain. And I've found that a lot of people are more motivated by pain than they are by pleasure. So for example, I wouldn't create a product that is around how to have a happy marriage, because that is more desire based. That is speaking to people, they might not even be married just yet, or they might not necessarily be going through a tough time in their marriage, but they're just interested to learn how to have a happier marriage. Those people might not necessarily be in a lot of pain. So I want the product to be more pain-based. So for example, it could be like how to save a marriage on the brink of divorce. That is, something potentially that's like specific because it's talking about marriage, but also specific about divorce as well. So again, I would go and look in the comments of that section and have a look at, some form to see if there's some common problems associated with that. And you can also verify it even more. So again, you can go to like a keyword planner on Google and you can have a look to see how many people are like searching for your specific problem, to see if there is actually demand there. Because again, there's no point having like a super unsaturated market if no one's actually looking to solve that problem. And again, I would go into Reddit and I would type in like the keyword of like how to save my marriage, and I'd have a look at all the different stuff there. So what you want to do is find those, and then again, find a common theme amongst those threads, and then you can be able to figure out if you can create a specific product for that. Now, when you actually find the pain point that you're like, okay, this is like niche and specific enough, there's a painful problem that a lot of people are searching for, and there's a common theme across the comment section and YouTube and Reddit of people talking about this problem. Now, we obviously want to try and differentiate our product so people choose us as a solution. And there's a few different ways in which you can differentiate your digital product. So number one, which we've talked about, which is the market, which is where you can create a relatively like new product that solves a painful problem in a market that is underserved by advertisers. So for example, if you find a product to do with like divorce or how to save a marriage after divorce, and you go and search, for example, in the Facebook ads library, and you go and search for like divorce or like how to save your marriage, and you can't really find other advertisers solving this problem with their ads, and there's no one really advertising, then you know you're onto probably like a big winner. If you can find a super painful problem that people are talking about on Reddit and YouTube, and there's no really competitors marketing for that problem inside of the ads library, then you're probably going to win, because you're going to be able to differentiate just on the market alone. Your product probably doesn't even have to be that good. It doesn't have to be that unique. You can just solve that problem, and because you're the only one solving that problem in that market, then you're going to win. So you can do that on market. Now, that is like the best case scenario, but that's also sometimes a little challenging, right? To find like not one person being able to like market. Now, the reality is if you go and search for people like how to save my marriage before, on the brink of divorce, for example, then the reality is there's probably are going to be a few competitors who are already marketing to that. And that in itself might not be specific enough. Again, I haven't done the full research. But a perfect scenario is no competition. But again, the reality is there's always going to be some competition. So when you go into the market, even if there's but again, you can still have low competition and that's still fine. Like we can still operate with a few different competitors. We just don't want to be like this on the left-hand side. So if you're going into a market like this, then we would need to differentiate on the mechanism. So this is we're not differentiating on the actual problem, but we're differentiating on like our actual solution to it. So like, for example, in the relationship space, there is a load of offers on ClickBank, and some of the best-selling offers in the relationship space have been how to like send this 7-word text message to get this girl to become obsessed with you or something like that. Those offers in the relationship space sell really well, where you basically sell a low-ticket digital product, teaching them like a text message to send to someone to get them to become attracted to you, right? Now, that is solving the problem of like someone not being able to, get a girlfriend or get on dates or whatever it is. Now, the mechanism is a text. So we can still go into a market where people are solving that problem for people, but we wouldn't then just go and create a product that is also selling like, the 7-word text. We'd have to differentiate on how we actually solve the problem for people. So you need to make sure that your digital product is actually different, even if there's lots of competitors solving the same problem. So you can either differentiate on mechanism, or again, another really great scenario, which is relatively rare, but again, is a real good scenario, is you can differentiate on channel. So if we're going to use that example of, the 7-word text that you can send to get someone to become obsessed with you or something like that, or to get any date or whatever the promise is. Let's say, for example, we search on YouTube and there's a bunch of people on YouTube talking about that, and there's loads of views on those videos. So there's like huge demand for that type of solution on YouTube. But you go onto Facebook and you can't see, and you look on the ads library and you can't see anyone running ads with that specific offer. Then you can differentiate on channel, because you can have like you can go after like a market that has competition, and you can sell a very similar offer to those competition. But if you just go to a new channel, i.e. Facebook ads, for example, and no one else is advertising that offer on using Facebook ads, then you don't really need to differentiate on the mechanism much. You don't need to differentiate on the market much. You can just differentiate on the channel. So for example, like on Instagram, there was a lot of people obviously selling different programs and courses on Instagram. When TikTok comes out, that was like a brand new market, or a brand new channel, that no one was dominating. So then people went over there and started selling when TikTok first came out, and they made a shitload of money because they didn't really need to come up with a new offer or anything like that. It was just a brand new channel. And it's the same with like YouTube ads. If you do your research and you realize like no one's running YouTube ads to this specific offer, but there's loads of people making a ton of money with it on Facebook, for example, then you can just take the same offer and go after the same market, and you don't have to be unique with your mechanism, but you just run it onto a brand new channel.